Oh, God, didn't see you there. Oh, hey, well, what are you doing here? Welcome. Yeah, let's do a Bionicle Inspiration Series episode, shall we? While you're here, let's go. Today's episode, it's gonna be all about leg designs. We've done a whole bunch of different episodes, your telemetries, your other things here and there, but I was like, let's just go back to basics. Let's do what we used to do with some of the really early episodes of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. Your legs, your arms, all that sort of stuff. So here's an episode on how to design legs for your Bionicle mocks. We'll give you a few obscure, weird ideas, or even just go down to some sort of specific basics. We'll just take a look at a bunch of pre-existing Bionicle mocks from across the community and see what they're doing. See what sort of stuff you can learn. Some tips, tricks, basic principles, and even just some unique stuff along the way too. Let's dive on in and have a look at some leg designs and see if they can inspire you or help you out if you're a little stuck with your leg designs currently on your mocks. So, first mock. This mock is by Awesomeness Born, and this is called Creeps from the Deep Calma. Now, this is a really fantastic mock here, and so let's dive on in to the leg design. What I love so much about this is that they are asymmetrical, of course. I've always loved a good asymmetrical leg design. One is different to the other. One, of course, is that peg leg design. I've always loved that. The idea of just putting a peg leg on a mock or some sort of cybernetic limb. Who says? Maybe with what's happened to them in their storyline or something, they've lost a limb and they've replaced it with something else. But of course, this mock too is underwater themed, so it fits very well to have a peg leg on this mock, so I love that. And also this other leg here, I think it's very unique. It's not really something I've seen before to some degree. I love the idea that the leg is essentially just this little wisp of a tentacle. He doesn't really have feet, it just sort of transitions into those 4 tentacles there. I actually really like that. It's sort of reminiscent of like a squid or an octopus or something, but the fact that it actually branches out of one of the legs there, I think it's a very clever idea and a great way of approaching a foot and kind of also a lower leg design at the same time there. I think that works so well too because there's a whole bunch of tentacles on this mock, whether it's kind of the mustachy beard of this mock, there's more sort of tentacle pieces there. Even some of the hair kind of flowing back too is those tentacle pieces. And then additionally to the Calma orange tentacle arm weapon thing that he's got going on here as tentacles as well. So there's kind of a tentacle theme going on, so it's very fitting to do that. And I guess that's some good advice as well for you if you're working on a mock is what sort of pieces or sort of design motifs have you currently put in your mock? Could you continue to put them in again throughout the design and just sort of, kind of keep playing with that, expand them further, see other ways that you could use that same thing, just so that everything's coherent and consistent, everything sort of flows one into the other, that sort of thing. I don't think I said that before, by the way. Obviously, like I said, Creeps from the Deep Calma. This is a revamp of the Bionicle set from the Baraki wave known as Calma. Actually, I recently did a Patron video counting down some of my favorite Baraki sets, or just the Bionicles from the year, which I think was that 2007 was the year that they came out. Calma, I said, was actually one of my favorite Baraki in that, so yeah, if you want to watch that, of course, you can head over to Patreon for that, but now's not the time for that. So yes, something else that I love about this leg design is the fact that, I sort of said it before, the peg leg is a great idea, but also it's very fitting because this mock is water themed, and of course, pirates have peg legs, so it seems very fitting for this character. But I also love the choice of pieces on this mock. We can see sort of in the middle there, on this peg leg specifically, the barrel piece that's being used is a piece you more typically saw on pirate sets, and other sets of course, but they came a lot in pirate sets. And then this sort of a larger barrel piece that sort of forms the very top of the peg leg there, again a piece you commonly saw in pirate sets. Some of those other brown pieces, you could also make an argument for seeing them in your pirate sets as well. And I recently watched this video on colour for university. It was a decent enough video, and one of the little sort of premises, ideas that they sort of touched on was the idea of if someone paints a painting and the materials that they use for the paints come directly from the area that they are painting. So for example, this painting was of a local Aboriginal artist in Australia, and they were painting the landscape of Australia. And yeah, they used materials from the land to make the paints to then paint it. They said that there's very different things that communicates than just going out to the shops and buying some random paint that was probably like imported from America or something, And I really like that idea, and I think you can kind of translate that same principle back to Lego. The idea of actually using pieces from themes, sets, mocks, all sorts of stuff that originally had the intention of being designed for a specific purpose or aesthetic, using those pieces again inside a mock to continue to convey that. So for example, just so I'm quite clear on this, I imagine a lot of those barrel pieces that we talked about before were specifically designed for some of those pirate sets. And obviously they were made in mind of having a little bit more of that sort of pirate feel, that pirate vibe, a water feeling to them. And so the fact that those specific pieces that are designed to look in that manner are being repurposed here to resemble a wooden, water, wet wood, pirate wood leg aesthetic. I said wood like 7 times in that sentence there. There's just something slightly different about it. Yes, you could use other random brown pieces, but using the pieces that were designed to look like pirate pieces makes this look even cooler and even better. So I think that's just really wise and definitely something to consider. If you've bought a specific set, maybe it's Nexo Knights, for example, and there's some of those more unique Nexo Knights elements. And maybe you are actually specifically designing some sort of knight mock or some sort of futuristic looking knight character, then by all means use some of those Nexo Knights pieces, because it just makes sense, right? They're designed to have that sort of interesting sort of science fiction kind of castle hybrid look that was Nexo Knights. So that would work well for your mock. That is that beautiful combination of that sort of sci-fi, futuristic looking kind of castle theme. So hopefully that made sense. But I certainly think that is in the favor of this mock here to do that, to use the pieces from the stuff that they were designed to look like to accomplish the feel that he's aiming for. I really like that. I really, really like that. So I think it's a great idea. Certainly something to consider for your stuff. I also love too just that this is a sort of very different stylistic take on Kalmar. 2 little details. One, the fact that there is a net piece around the orange tentacle there kind of looks like, some sort of net tried to capture him and he managed to swim away from it, swim free from it, but little bits of the net were left behind. I like that. It's a fun little detail. And the complete reimagining of the Kalmar mask here. I really, really love how this looks. It's such a departure from the original head design, but it still has little kind of notes of what the original looks like there. Just, yeah, this one has more of that sort of bearded look to it, this sort of more kind of, tentacle face like Davy Jones or something. It's just cool. It's just really, really cool. So, yeah, a lot of fantastic, really unique, awesome technical stuff going on this mock. And also just looks super cool. So really, really nice work here. Also love all the little seaweed details you added there. A lot to love. Good job. Let's move on to the next mock. This is a great one. It's by Woomy World, and it's called Manananagala Dissonance. Look, I did my best with that name. But I think this is a great idea for a leg design. The idea of just shoving things together and it being beautiful, this sort of weird, odd hybrid mix that it becomes. So read the description on this mock. It says, with its severed body fused with the jaws of hell, the Mananalagaga sweeps the night skies, devouring its victims. That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome. This was actually entered into the redemption round of the Bio Cup. Coverage for that coming soon. But, I love this idea. Maybe currently you've built a mock. You're still kind of working on it. It's still a work in progress. And you've just built it from the waist up. You've got that good, but you just can't figure out these legs. Well, what's stopping you doing something awesome like this? The idea of essentially taking what kind of is like 3 different mocks and just shoving them together and making them, very deliberately making them, this beautiful, weird mix, this eclectic, weird hybrid, and just combining it into one. That's a reason that I love just so much of like Star Wars and other weird pop culture stuff, is when things just kind of go into the absurd or the really odd and weird. It's like in The Rise of Skywalker. It's like, oh, yeah, there was this crazy weird monkey guy with goggles who just repaired Kylo's mask. Why not? He's a monkey. That's awesome. There is such a lovely beauty in that of just being totally weird and obscure. And yes, you might be like, am I being too weird? I say you're not being weird enough, I personally really, really enjoy this, just seeing this odd, beautiful hybrid mix. It's very sort of Lovecraftian in nature. The fact that there's just a whole bunch of these gold wheel pieces, these weird gold bars sticking out, the beautiful mix of tentacles and teeth and flames, because why not? That's just awesome. That's really, really cool to see. So yeah, do that. Add weird stuff, put it all together, see how it looks, and hope for the best. Because I think here it's definitely a good triumph here. I think it works so well. I love too the silver guy that's at the top of this weird toothy maw. Just the posing that he's got, the way he's got his hands out there, like he's like kind of challenging you. He's like, yeah, come on, fight me. What of it? My legs are weird teeth and tongues and tentacles and golden beams. Like, that's right, I exist. You know, that's just, I love that. It's a lot of character kind of packed into that. That's awesome. And always too, like, definitely pay attention to the posing that you have on your mocks as well, because they can say a lot and really add a lot of personality. And I think this is another great example of just how much that can do for a mock as well. It's awesome. So yeah, I love that idea. You know, you don't have to necessarily even need the mock to be, you know, sitting on the ground. It could be floating like this. You can, you know, Photoshop out a stand if you know how to do that, or you can just build a little brick-built stand to sort of support it in some fashion there. But yeah, do that. Go weird, go crazy. It just might work, as we see here on this mock. So, yes, lovely work there, Mr. Huemi World. Let's move on to another mock. It's by our good man Disty, and this mock was built for a contest, and it is a revamp of the Manus Crabs from the early Bionicle Rahi sets. I did like this set. Never actually got this set. Always wanted it, but this is a fantastic revamp of them. So, of course, the leg design on this is just simply treads. You know, obviously this, the original Manus Crabs were sort of obviously inspired by crabs. And of course, crabs in the real world don't have treads at the moment. Maybe later. Who knows? 2020 is a weird year. That might happen. And the Bionicle set here replaced them with these treads instead of the individual little pincery claw doubly doodles. And I love that. That was cool. And of course, this has been continued here in Disty's revamp of the Manus Crab. And yeah, why not do that yourself? Why not just add some treads or some wheels or some other sort of, you know, maybe it's like an AT-AT walker or an AT-AT, as you might say. And they've got, 4 long legs instead of something else that might be supporting it. Or maybe jet boosters propel it in the air, you know? What other sort of weird out there kind of thing can you use? It's always good to think outside the box, you know? So yeah, maybe treads or wheels of some kind, or yes, maybe legs, but a different take on legs could be the option to consider for your Bionicle mock. Yeah, it's always something I do whenever I'm making some sort of art project. I just do a bit of research, just kind of Google a whole bunch of different stuff, sort of look up different unique kind of character designs, leg designs, all sorts of stuff like that, and just kind of get a nice little kind of mood board together, or kind of just sort of play with different concepts, look at things that I maybe wasn't quite thinking, and that could be a really good way of approaching the leg design in your current mock, is to really think of stuff that you really weren't planning, and who knows, maybe it might work. So, yeah, love that idea. Put some treads on your Bionicle mocks. And of course, treads come in a whole bunch of different sets. There's often a bunch in different LEGO Technic sets, but some have appeared in, your Nexonite sets, your Ninjago sets, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. I'm sure even some sort of weird sort of superhero sets, Batman sets, all sorts of weird stuff like that have also included treads of all sorts of different shapes and sizes. There are a few different variations of treads as well. So something to consider, something to think about, something to look into if you are interested in giving that a go with your next leg design. But let's briefly talk about this Manus Crab here. I love it. The eyes appear to light up, which, hey, that's something to consider. Getting some power functions, going down to your local hobby store even, and buying some little LED lights, and finding ways of having your Bionicle mock light up in some fashion, whether that's just the eyes, or maybe you want to have other little translucent elements on their body glow as well. It's just up to you, and up to what your imagination can conjure up. I love too because the original set had masks kind of along the pincers, kind of closer to the kind of mouth, I guess, of this crab here. And the pincers had those masks, like I said. And I love that that's been continued here as well. But I don't know, there's something about this that it kind of looks like the pincers are almost an extension of the masks to some fashion. Like, I don't know, to me on the original set, those masks were... It's not that they were just sort of placed there. I think that's the wrong way to word it. But they look, to at least to me, sort of separate from the claws. Whereas here I kind of see them becoming one sort of unified thing, which I quite like. So I like that idea that the masks definitely become a larger part of the overall design. I think it's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this little Manus Crab here. I love too the orange curved slope pieces there being used for the sort of larger crab pincer claw jobbos. That works well as well. As this is just a good job. Good job, Disty. You've done well. And I do enjoy the concept of tread legs as well, of course. Fantastic. Let's move on to the next mock. This is by GuyH. and it's called the Beholder. So you might be like, Ben, I'm sure you're aware, Ben. You say this to me, you say, Ben, this is a leg episode. This mock doesn't have legs. What were you thinking? To which I would say, good point. But that's the point. Does your mock even need legs? Maybe. I don't know. That's up to you, of course. But that's something to consider. Maybe it doesn't need legs at all. Maybe you're overthinking the leg design. Toss them out the corner. Put them away. Take them off. Maybe they don't need them. You could build something like a beholder here, of course. And that's what a beholder is, isn't it? It's just a weird ball with a big old mouth, big old eyes, and tentacles coming out of its back. And it floats in the sky. Beholders are, of course, from Dungeons & Dragons, a game I very much enjoy. And, you know, they look pretty cool. I think it's a really interesting sort of beast monster design. So maybe you want to do something similar. You don't have to specifically build a beholder, of course, but there are a whole bunch of different beasts and things that don't have legs that float in the sky or do all sorts of crazy things, swim under the water as well, you know. How do you want to approach a leg design? Do they even need legs? Or do you want to do like the beholder here and have tentacles, which I wouldn't necessarily say those tentacles are its legs, but they could have some other sort of a limb or body part of some kind that acts as, I don't know, a weapon or just something else, you know? With beholders, of course, those tentacles, well, maybe they could use them to sort of pick stuff up. I don't know. I'm not actually sure of that. But those tentacles do act as weapons. The eyes have different sort of beams on them with different sort of effects and things. So you, of course, could do something very similar, you know? Maybe you want to change the legs to be some kind of weapon instead. Or maybe the legs are giant Gatling guns. I like that idea. Yeah, you know, something like that. I like that idea. Something to consider, of course, and always nice to take a bit of inspiration from, you know, board games and your monster manuals and all sorts of different crazy things and see if that can inform a mock in some fashion here. I do like that. I do like that indeed. I also like to, you know, like I said a little bit earlier, a beholder is a ball with an eye, teeth, and tentacles. Like, when you really break it down, it's not that complex of a design. You know, it's not like I don't know, like a Cthulhu or a dragon or something where, you know, it's a little bit more sort of, I don't know, difficult to draw or build or something. If you were to just draw a picture of a beholder, you could draw like 8 lines for the tentacles, a big circle, another circle for the eye, and a little smiley face for the mouth, and you'd have your beholder. It would take you like 2 seconds, you know? But there's still something nice about the fact that it is more simplistic, and it is just the idea of like, yo, what if we put some tentacles on a ball, gave it an eye, and had some teeth on it? It is this nice kind of beautiful mix of kind of seemingly unrelated things that actually does work well together, and I like that, you know? And it's also a big part of just idea generation as a whole, you know? The idea of just taking 2 things, shoving them together, and seeing if it works, because often it kind of does, you know? It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where like the majority of the beasts in that world are multiple different animals from our world shoved together to become one beautiful thing, like platypus bears or turtle ducks, which are the cutest things in the world. You know, little stuff like that, just shoving 2 things together and seeing if it works. And often it does. You know, I love the beasts in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think they're awesome. I think they're very clever and very cool looking, you know? So something to consider there if you're stuck for ideas, whether it's on the legs or just an overall concept for a mock. Take 2 random things, shove it together, see if it works. It might not with some things, or it might. See with it, sit with it, see what happens. You'll figure it out. So that's it. Let's move on to this next mock in this, well, slightly shorter episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series in the fact that I have less mocks than normal, but probably still the same length of time, because I talk a lot. But this mock is called Marge, and it's by Yannick Gotz. So I like this one. I like this one a lot. It's a very cute little guy, and I very much enjoy, well, I just very much enjoy it, actually. But let's talk about the legs. That is why we're here, of course. So the leg design uses some of these curved connector Technic pieces there. You can see them being used again on the upper arms there. And that, I think, is the very point of what I wanted to talk about with this mock. Not I think, it is the very point I wanted to talk about with this mock. Maybe currently you've built a mock and, you know, like I said, waist up, that's all you've built. What do? You're stuck on the legs. Well, maybe it's worth using the exact same pieces you used on the arms again on the legs. You know? For the most part, human appendages, yeah, they look the same up top as they do at the bottom. Not really, but you know, it's a long pillar. It's the same thing. Yeah, whatever. If you're drawing a stick figure, it's just sticks. You know what I mean? From a certain point of view. So, it kind of makes sense to do that with the limbs on your Bionicle, you know? Maybe that's the approach that you could at least give a try. It may not always work, or it might, like it does on this mock here. So I like that it's done that. I like that he's done that. Just repeated the exact same, essentially the exact same design, really, and used the exact same pieces. And so there's a nice sort of sense of cohesion throughout the limbs there. Everything flows together nicely. It just looks good. I like that a lot. And of course, too, even if the limbs are the exact same design, you can still armor them slightly differently, you know? Of course, we have these larger silver tooth pieces here for leg armor, and of course those pieces aren't on the top with the hands and arms there, but he has those Rakshi head pieces for little shoulder armor instead, so you can always armor stuff differently, but have the actual underlying limb be the very similar or same design using similar or the same pieces. Great idea, I think. I still love, too, this mock is basically like a knight bunny. That's just great. I love that. Again, combining two things. Knights and bunnies, a winning combination. Next time you can combine turtles and ninjas. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is already a thing. Bamboozled. But still, hey, you know, it might have been how they came up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know? All right, we'll come up with another one. Snakes and pirates. Next time I'll be like, man, that already exists. I'll be like, bamboozled again. No. And heck, even if it does exist, build it in your own way. Build Ninja Turtles, but build them different from Donatello and all the gang. You know, figure it out. Just see what happens. Play around. Experiment. Anyway, bunny knights. I love the idea. I still like, too, that to some degree you could just kind of not put the ears on this mock, and it would still kind of work. It would just be this cool kind of conehead-looking villain guy. I don't know why he was a villain. I don't see this guy as a villain. I see him as a knight, a valiant man. Yeah, I like that the bunny ears weren't necessarily needed on this mock, but they're a nice addition, and I greatly appreciate that he put them on, you know. I imagine he built this mock intending for it to be a bunny guy, but I like the idea that he was also like, hey, you know, I'll just add some bunny ears on here, and now he's a bunny, you know. Yeah, maybe that's something else with your mocks too, you know. Is there some little slight addition that you're yet to add that will totally change it up, you know? You were thinking of just making some cool-looking knight dude, boom, suddenly he's a bunny knight dude. All you had to do was add ears. Something to consider with your mocks, you know? I like that. I don't think that's the story on this mock, of course, but I do appreciate a good bunny knight. It does bring me joy. All right, so that's that mock, and this is this mock. This one's by Max Hoel, and it's called Scorched Earth Unit 237. So, the leg design on this mock. Not necessarily anything, you know, super unique. You know, before we had a weird mixture of gold rods and tentacles and all sorts of crazy things to make legs, or weird tentacles and peg legs and things. But of course, you don't always have to go super crazy and weird. You can just go with a very stereotypical, normal leg design that just uses Hero Factory pieces and stuff. There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes it's the best option, like we see here. So yeah, you don't always have to overcomplicate it. Simple still does work. So let's talk about a simple leg design, because that might be the perfect thing for you. So this simple leg design, it is simple. And again, simple doesn't mean bad. Of course not. Of course not. Listen to like any episode of Biss. I say that all the time. But how's he done this? So yeah, your typical CCBS bones with some CCBS armor layered on top. But the beautiful thing that's been added on this is a bunch of tires. Those tires have just been kind of fed into the bone themselves, and then the armor has been placed on top. Get a whole bunch of different tires. You hear this? That is my drawer filled with tires. I got a lot of them, and I'm sure you got a lot of them too. They appear in your pick-a-brick walls. They come in like any city set. I'm sure if you've been collecting a little bit, or even just a short period of time, a little bit is a short period of time, isn't it? If you've been collecting a long or short period of time, you've probably amassed a whole bunch of tires over the years. So put them to good use. Put them on your Hero Factory bone pieces, because like we see here, they help to kind of fill out some of the gaps and really kind of just help with kind of texture flow and everything as well, because you know, the tires are naturally smooth, and so are your Hero Factory armor pieces. So it just makes everything look real nice. The tires specifically on the waist also look really good. I do like them there. I also like too, with the tires on the waist, that he's managed to just kind of feed a little fire piece into the gap that's there in between those two tires. And it kind of looks like the flames are just sort of licking out of his body. Like this is maybe some sort of elemental being that's made of fire, and this suit is sort of containing that fire. But there's little gaps in his suit where occasionally the fire just sort of spits out like that. I love that idea. I think it's very clever and creative, and there's similar little stuff like that on the shoulder here on this mock as well. I do enjoy that. So yeah, that's the leg design on this mock. Very simple, very nice. It still works well. But I also think it's important to note that the base of this mock, all these different flame pieces that are just placed there, and these little beautiful rock formations using some system slope pieces, that adds a lot to this mock. Really helps to kind of paint a picture of its atmosphere and all that. But also, you know, he's standing on these. His legs, you know, to some degree are involved in some fashion with this landscape that he's standing on. And I think it's very important to note that, like, hey, a stand or a base, that can play some role in how you interpret the leg design on a mock, you know? Yeah, it's not necessarily major or huge, but there is, you know, some relationship that they share in some fashion. So, yeah, maybe you can build a landscape of some sort, and that could somehow slightly improve the way that the leg design looks. Maybe. Something to think about. One thing I also love about this mock that was the thing that sort of I first gravitated towards on this was the beautiful sort of heart design that he's got there. Using 3 of those claw pieces that came on a bunch of Bionicle G2 sets there, putting them on like a handlebar piece and having them all sort of intertwine in that fashion, kind of creating this like diamond pattern. That's beautiful. That looks really, really nice. I love how that looks. Very simple little design there, you know, nothing majorly complex in any way, but it just works well. Always nice to see a little fun design like that, and it just looks crisp, you know, it's good. So there you go. That is it for a whole bunch of leg designs in this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully if you are working on some leg designs of some sort, this is here to help you, and hopefully I've given you some ideas and inspired you in some fashion, because that is what we like to do here. So if you're like, hey, this is pretty cool, I'd like to see some of my own mocks on this show, well, of course you can. The email that you're currently seeing on your screen right now, that is the submission email. All you have to do is go to your local email, whether it's Gmail, Hotmail, or all the other ones in between, and send me an email. Send it to that email address. Include as many or as few pictures as you want, as little or as large a description as you want in that email. Then I will add it to the list, and one day it'll appear on the show, but do bear in mind I have a whole bunch of submissions to work through, so your patience is key, because I've got a lot to work through. But don't let that discourage you. Submit away, and one day it'll appear on the show. Additionally, there are links in the description below to all the mocks that you saw in this episode today. Oh my. Be sure to give those guys a little bit of love. There's some talented builders, and they deserve the love that you can give them. Additionally as well, there's links to some of my social media in the description below. If you wish, you can also check that out. Some of the stuff that I've got going on currently. Well, I've been posting a whole bunch of images lately on my social media, and very recently I've been photographing some images of the D&D session that I play with my friends, and I've recreated them in Lego, and I've been posting those. I recently just posted one of those the other day, and I'm going to be posting a few more of those soon, so you can stay tuned for that. There's a fun story with that you can read on Flickr, or you can just see some of the cool images on their own. They're on Flickr and Instagram, and other places in between, so you can check out that over there. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed. I will see you in the next episode of the Bionicle Inspirations series. Keep on building and keep on getting some cool leg designs built. Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.